Good evening, this is Alex Warm or not Sparta. Here are today's tropics for September 10th, 2019. First off, we got Invest 94L, which is looking pretty pitiful actually right now. There is a bit of a spin right here. It's a bit jumpy right now. My site doesn't quite have the capabilities yet to get rid of this jumpiness right now. Anyway, there's little to no convection, although there is a bit of spin. There is a well-defined but elongated kind of circulation that we saw earlier. But with no convection to support it, it's probably not going to be doing too much. You can see the westerly shear is already starting to set in. It's not too strong, but you can see the mild westerly flow right over the circulation, and with the easterly flow, that means that convection, when it tries to fire, is going to get sheared off, which is another impediment to convective organization and generally organization of the disturbance. So it looks like, yeah, this won't be doing too much. It probably get caught up in the next wave behind it that's just leaving Africa. So there's not really much to look at with this one, so we might even see it gone in the next couple days. Next up we got Invest 95L, which looks a lot better than Invest 94L, except it doesn't really have much of circulation, unlike 94L. There's a good amount of convection here. It's not outside that circle too, but there is, as you can see, a good amount of convection that's being also supported by two upper troughs, one to the northwest and one to the southeast, which is basically trying to construct a bit of an upper ridge, which is currently enhancing convection. Could cause a tropical cyclone to form once it's slightly more favorable conditions. And here you can see some diurnal convection over Hispaniola and Cuba. Looking at the water vapor, you can see an upper trough right here and a bit of an upper low right here. What that's doing here is causing more general anticyclonic flow over Invest 95L, which again is enhancing the upper divergence, which allows convection to blossom. But you can see that there's a bit of a shearing to the east, or westerly shear that is, which might stunt some of that organization for a bit. Looking at the forecast here, an upper low is expected to get into the Gulf of Mexico here. Relatively obvious. So with it, it's going to bring a bit of moisture. It should bring with it some higher relative humidity values. As you can see, it goes from very dry in the next about 48 hours, where that would be very unfavorable for a tropical system. But as the upper low gets in, you can see that advection of higher relative humidity into this region. So if you go further in time and then look at the vorticity for supplement to see where it actually is, see that it gets in there about 96 hours, and then the GFS takes it to the northwest into the Mississippi or Alabama coast. Now, this is just a deterministic run. It's 5 days out, things can change, but this is what it's doing right now. And then at the same time, you can see this upper low kind of become a bit less organized, maybe not just like kind of becomes more of a trough in this region rather than the more well-defined low we saw in the previous frames. As going back here, as you can see right around here as it starts coming up to the coast. At the same time, there's some mild southerly wind here, and when you have the system coming out from here, and you've got flow from here in the upper levels, or in the lower levels, but the upper flow is more like here, you can see that there's a bit of the southwesterly shear that will impact the system, so it might be a bit asymmetric and not too well organized. So based on what it's looking like right now, we're probably not going to see a very strong system into the coast. It looks, if it forms at all, it's likely to be weak at this point, as there's going to be some shear at least. Now, if you notice here, the southerly wind is more like faster, stronger in that region, but it's weaker here. So that is an example of mildly anticyclonic flow with like a pseudo anticyclone traveling northward. Now this would generally enhance that divergence in the upper levels, which it would enhance the convergence or the convection, which means that the shear that it's having, which would be southwesterly, which is usually unfavorable, may be lessened because of the divergence, because the shear can be lessened if there is a good amount of convection, which happens more when the shear is divergent. So we'll have to see what happens, how things change, and then as it develops, the guidance will get more reliable as they can latch onto a more organized system, and then we can really see what's going on, and will it become stronger in thought, will it become weaker, will it develop at all. It's still a tad early. It's another 5 days. A lot of things can change, but it is a good thing to keep an eye on. It might cause some showers at least, but some just generally worse weather as it passes by southern parts of southern Florida and into the northern Gulf Coast. But again, it doesn't look too strong, at least at the moment. So I'd remain vigilant, but don't be too worried at this point. Anyway, there isn't really much going on in the rest of the tropics. Gabrielle's recently become extratropical, and there are a couple invests in the Pacific that aren't really going to impact anyone anytime soon. Anyway, that's pretty much it for today. If you have any feedback, I'd appreciate that, and I hope you have a good evening. Thank you for watching.